What is going on, everybody? My name is Jeff Lightsey Jr. here with the Black Boss Channel and Victory Formation. Thank you guys for tuning in. Be sure to hit the thumbs up button, like, share, subscribe, and the notification bell because we upload every single day. I had to bring my man back on after what took place in the Celebration Bowl. We got Mr. Khari Thompson. He is a beat writer for Jackson State down at the Clarion Ledger. Khari, how's it going, money?
What's up, Jeff? How are you?
Pretty good, man. Pretty good. Happy holidays to you, Khari. But Khari, last time we was on here, it was before the big game. It was before the Celebration Bowl. Well, the Celebration Bowl is taking place. We know who the winner of that game is. Just Khari, from your perspective, what took place at the Celebration Bowl? How surprised were you about the results and who came out on top in the way that they came out on top?
Oh man, I predicted Jackson State by I think 17 or something like that. They ended up losing by 21, the worst loss in Celebration Bowl history. Symbolic loss for Deion Sanders, who wore number 21 in the NFL for over a decade. Some fun facts regarding the number 21 and Deion. Or 21 for the Falcons, Cowboys, you name it. That was his number in the NFL.
Yeah.
He's the 21st head football coach in Jackson State history. When he came back from toe surgery, Jackson State scored 21 points in their win against Southern.
Wow. I didn't even realize that they did. I remember the game. I remember the Southern game. I didn't know they scored. Wow. Okay. Is that it, or you got more?
And now in the 2021 Celebration Bowl, the team loses by 21, which is the widest. It's the biggest loss in Celebration Bowl history.
That you hate to see it. You hate to see it. Khari, from someone who was there in Atlanta that day, what happened? Why was Jackson State? Why were they outmatched like that during a game that they had 2 weeks to prepare for? A game they had everybody healthy. Just what happened? Take me back to that game.
Well, they've had some issues that they've had all year that they haven't really been able to address, and one of those things is they've been playing really one-dimensional because their run game.
Mm-hmm.
They had, I think, 30 total rushing runs.
Wow!
In the Celebration Bowl. That's not going to cut it. I mean, they've been getting away with it because Shedeur has been so good. But if you take a game where Shedeur has to throw the ball 40 times and completes less than 20. It has a couple key turnovers. That's not a good look. It puts a lot of strain on your defense, which has been the best defense in the SWAC and probably all of HBCU football all year. But just their inability to get stuff done on offense put a lot of strain on their defense. And we saw that their defense gave up 31 for the first time all season. That's point number one. Point number two. They couldn't stop Shaq, man.
Shaq Davis was a beast, dog.
I mean, he had three TDs by himself. They just didn't have an answer for him.
That was the ball game. Shaq Davis. Was it because Jackson State, you watched Jackson State all year. They go man-to-man pretty much the entire game. Was there any kind of double team? Did they ever talk about switching the zone? Is that something people ask? Why was it that after this man continues to dominate, win one-on-one matchups, they don't decide to double team or may hit a zone or switch something up? What was up with that?
I don't know, man. Honestly, I wasn't too focused. I wasn't too locked in on his matchup just because – you sit in Mercedes-Benz Stadium, you're looking at this thing from several rows up. I wasn't really kicking back watching it on TV, but I was kind of getting the macro picture of what the defense was doing. I mean, the defense didn't play that bad. It's just to me, you have 2 turnovers in the red zone.
That's true.
That make the score look way worse than it is. You have that fumble from Shedeur. That was on the 3-yard line. Sets up Shaq Davis's first touchdown. Easy 3-yard completion, right? Shaq Davis had 3 touchdowns, but he had less than 100 yards. It's not burning them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He was getting a lot of those little catches that were close in. So you had a fumble that set that up. You had that pass that was tipped.
Yeah.
Near the goal line in Jackson State. I mean, that set up another touchdown. That's 14 points right there. I mean, if you look at it that way, right? Take those 2 easy red zone turnovers, totally easy scores. it's 17-10.
Yeah. Yeah, no. Yeah, you're right about that. You're right about that. Once again, we're talking to Khari Thompson. He's a beat writer for Jackson State out the Clarion Ledger. Be sure to hit the thumbs up button, like, share, subscribe. Now, Khari, since the game, because the game, it's been a while now since the game. We've had Christmas. We've had some different things taking place. What is, like, just your sense of the program? What has that been like for Jackson State since they're, a tough loss? We've had some defections, guys declaring for the draft. Just what overall, what's the program like right now?
The brand is strong. The brand is strong. I mean, I'll liken it to this. Do you see, like a movie franchise when like they're setting it up for a sequel? Like, there's gonna be like a Rocky 2 or something like that.
Yeah.
Like that's what this feels like. It's like they have the storybook season, they get the number 1 recruit, and then they lose. So now they have something to play for. Not that they wouldn't have ordinarily had something to play for, but I mean, we know the type of competitor that Coach Prime is. I don't think he wants to end his Jackson State tenure without a Celebration Bowl win. So it's, the brand is definitely strong. I mean, you got Aubrey Miller coming back. He's a transfer from Mizzou.
That was big. Getting Aubrey Miller back is huge.
Yeah, so he's coming back. You got Travis Hunter coming in. You got, I think James Houston declared for the draft today.
I saw that.
Beast. But I think you're gonna get a lot of these pieces back. Obviously, you have Shador coming back, and Malachi Wideman, who I'm looking forward to seeing him hoop because he's also top basketball player too.
Yeah.
So the brand is strong, man. I mean, they're about to get another visit from a 5-star kid, running back.
I saw that, and I was going to ask you about that. So we're talking Jackson State. We're talking about what's next, but that's really cool to hear you say the brand is strong, because the brand for Jackson State, if you just take a 1 year, a year in review, right? Let's go from January. We don't have to go back to December last year. Let's go from January 21 to now. Jackson State is like a complete 180. It's a completely different program as far as the facilities have been upgraded. The jerseys have been upgraded. The players have been upgraded. Even from the spring to now, the players have been upgraded. So everything, and it's so crazy because they had all of this same hype going into that Celebration Bowl. You get this big disappointment, and how do you bounce back? Well, you already got the number 1 player in the country locked up. You're getting a visit from a UCLA transfer, and you got the number 1 running back in the class of 23, which is he's a junior right now, right, already tweeting out that he's going to visit FAMU and Jackson State. So I think the SWAC as a whole is really coming up, not to mention Hugh Jackson getting hired down at Grambling. Just what's it like to be a SWAC fan right now?
I mean, I wouldn't know because I'm a MEAC guy.
I forgot the real HU, right?
Yeah, I gotta remind my SWAC out there that the MEAC is 5-1 in Celebration Bowls against SWAC. So I gotta get that in. Just to, I cover Jackson State. But I will say this. It's a really cool time to cover SWAC football. I think the conference has been re-energized with more than just Coach Prime's presence. Obviously, he's a huge part of that. But, I mean, has there really been a more exciting time within the past 40 years? Or so, to cover HBCU football. I mean, it's incredible what Jackson State is doing.
No, absolutely. Once again, we're talking to Khari Thompson. He's a Jackson State beat writer down at the Clarion Ledger. Be sure to hit the thumbs up button, like, share, and subscribe. Now, Khari, I want to ask you, last time we were on this program was right before signing day, and you said, I don't know about Travis Hunter. I'm hearing it's a 50-50 split. And I was like, yo, you really think he can come? He's like, man, I'm not saying. I'm going to just leave the door open, like the good man Bruno Mars said. And sure enough, he committed to Jackson State. Khari, take me back. What was that like for the people in Jackson, for yourself, for those who cover Jackson State, when you found out the number 1 recruit in the country was headed to play at an HBCU, and not just any HBCU, at Jackson State?
Well, it's a momentous day for HBCUs in general, right? Because, there's this internal debate among Black folks, like, are HBCUs good enough, right? Like, people that are team HBCU are like, of course we're good enough. Matter of fact, we're more than good enough. People that are team PWI are like, nah, y'all don't have the resources. Y'all don't have some of the same advantages. So, not saying that Travis Hunter's decision is for everybody. I'm not saying everybody should pick an HBCU, but I think it's a signal that it can be good enough for these top kids.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like it really can, and it can be good enough in today's era. Because obviously during segregation, it was good enough for
You ain't no choice. You ain't no choice. You was either there or you wasn't going to college.
right. And you name the amount of players that came through, prior to the 80s. You know what I mean? Like came through HBCUs. Like the Walter Paytons, the Doug Williamses, like the Deacon Joneses, right? It was good enough for those guys.
Yeah,
For those guys.
that's very
Um,
true.
so I think it's important because of that symbol. Like, think about it. If you've obviously looked at the ESPN rankings, the 247 rankings,
Mm-hmm.
a number of times over the years. Did you
Mm-hmm.
ever expect to look at the very top and see an HBCU commit right there, number one,
Never.
5-star?
Never. No, I would have never. Honestly, I'm gonna put myself out there, man. I'm gonna be 100% honest. A dude from Louisville, Kentucky. I didn't know too many HBCUs. Period. Like I could name you Hampton. I could name you the real HU Howard. No, I'm just messing with you. I could give you, I could give you Spelman, Morehouse, Clark, and Kentucky State, which is in Kentucky. That's about it. That was about it. Now, I had heard of Grambling. Now, if I thought about it, right, like just off the top of my head, though, I had those 6. Now, if I thought about it, I'd have heard of Grambling. If I thought about it, I took a visit to Tennessee State or Morgan State, Coppin State. I took like some college visits there. But like, just off the top of my head, I didn't know where Walter Payton went to school at. I didn't know where Jerry Rice went to school at. I didn't know any, and I'm a football guy. So, no, yeah, like, so could I have imagined to see one of their schools at the top of the 247 rankings, ESPN rankings, rivals, whoever on 3? Like, hell no. Like, hell no. I'm just being honest.
Right. Yeah, I mean it's true. I mean, even me, I'm an HBCU guy. I went to Hampton. It's not like Hampton was at the top of my list when I was. Hampton just gave me a whole bunch of scholarship money. That's what it turned out. So like it turned out to be one of the best decisions of my life. And I wouldn't trade it for the world. But the perception of a 17, 18-year-old kid, you're looking at different things than 27-year-old me would be looking at.
Yeah.
So that's important. And it's important that Travis made this decision because he's a 17, 18-year-old kid. He made a decision that is saying that other 17, 18-year-old kids should do this.
Well, yeah, and it's so crazy because he knows, like, you have to know. Now, obviously, you don't know until you make the decision, but you know the backlash is coming. Because at this moment, at this current moment, Travis Hunter's the first of his kind to choose a Jackson State or to choose to go to an HBCU. Like, that hasn't, like you said, that happened since integration. Like, he is literally a real-life trailblazer. Like, he is doing something he's a pioneer in something. And so to see that, but like you in the media, myself in the media, to see that vitriol this 17, 18-year-old kid got for choosing to go to a school full of people that look like him, for fans that's going to cheer for him that look like him, for a coach that looks like him. What did you think of that? Because I made my thoughts be known. I've made them be known several times. But what did you think about some of the backlash from some of the commentators or those in the media gave to Travis? Not just him, but also Dion.
I mean, are we surprised? This is what the system has been all along. And it just works in concert, right? So like big school misses out on a top recruit. You've got the media coming in. Well, most of the media, because I am the media too. And
absolutely. Same here.
Voices are important.
Absolutely.
You've got a large swath of the media come in and saying, why is this kid picking this school? And, they took him from Florida State. And like, you can just see the mindset is like that Travis is a possession. Like he's a commodity. That's how a lot of these media types view these kids. They don't view them as people with own free will. Like they view it as if, he's a Florida State recruit versus Travis Hunter, who is deciding between Florida State and whatever. I think, Coach Prime's take on that was refreshing because he was like, because someone asked him, like, what's it like to take him from Florida State? He's like, we didn't take him from Florida State. He never belonged to Florida State. He's
Exactly.
making a college decision, and he decided to go to Jackson State.
Mm-hmm.
Man, it's not surprising. It's disappointing, but it's why what Travis did is so important, because the reality of it is a lot of these Power 5 schools didn't allow kids who look like Travis Hunter to attend schools like that not too long ago. And since then, have not always been the most welcoming.
Not at all.
Color. So it's important for people like Travis to show that there is another option out there. You don't have to go the mainstream route. You don't want to.
Absolutely, absolutely. Once again, we're talking to Khari Thompson, Jackson State beat writer at the Clarion Ledger. And it's funny that you say that, because it wasn't that long ago. Like, it wasn't like there are people that are still alive that weren't able to play at Florida State or the University of Kentucky or Alabama. Like, I interviewed
Ole Miss. James
which is yes, and Nate Northington, I interviewed, because I'm from Louisville and I worked in local news in Kentucky, and I interviewed Nate Northington, who actually integrated the SEC. He was the first black player ever to play in an SEC game. Like, this man is still alive, right? So like these things are like not your, like, let's say ancient history. Like, this is like recent history, 50, 60 years ago. Like, it wasn't that long ago. I want to stay on topic with the recruiting though, Khari. So Coach Prime has been very, very adamant before the game, during the game, after the game, that Travis ain't the only one. There's more players coming to Jackson State that are considered those 4 to 5 high caliber players. Khari, if you have any insight, who are some of these guys or some of the names people should be thinking about when they hear Coach Prime say some of that stuff?
Man, honestly, the thing is, the word is surprise. First, their names. I mean, because, like, outside of the program, how many people expected Jackson State to bring in Travis Hunter? Right?
Yeah. Didn't nobody. Everybody was surprised hell to just see him at a game. Like, the fact that he showed up on campus.
So, I think the element of surprise is also important, because Jackson State, the way it recruits is different than in Alabama or so, right? Like, because if you're Alabama,
explain that. What do you mean by that?
If you're Alabama, you already have 10 to 15 kids signed already. You've already got your 4 and 5 stars picked out.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a Jackson State or, another school that's, not one of the blue bloods, you kind of have to wait and see how things shake out. You know what I mean? Like, you're not. I mean, maybe Coach Prime will get the program to that point eventually, but it's not at that point now where he can just go in and say, "Oh, we signed 12 kids, 12 4-stars before Christmas." It's not at that point, and he may well end up with that many, but you have to wait and see. Watch how things move and shake, and then at the end you'll see the end result. Because right now, JSU is not even in the top 100 in terms of this year's recruiting class. They were number 55 last year, and I'd imagine with Travis and with all the momentum that they have, they're probably going to end up higher than that. I'm going to be in for some signing day surprises.
So you think they're going to end up higher than 55 this year? Travis by himself, that damn near puts you at 55 alone. I think it was really interesting because Coach Prime was on the Rich Eisen show recently, and he spoke about his recruiting, like how his style of recruiting. He says he goes 40-40-20. 40% grad transfer, 40% transfer portal, and then 20% high school. And so I think that also goes into, anyone that's following Jackson State style of recruiting to know that you're not going to sign a bunch of kids from high school. Most of your players are going to come from via the transfer portal. 80% of your players are going to come from the transfer portal. Only difference between transfer portal and the 40% grad transfer is the grad transfer guys only have 1 year left. So like that is, I think that also goes into account. So that means like some of these transfers, you might not see the 4-star out of like high school, like a Travis or a 5-star, but a 4 or 5-star transfer could definitely be well on the way. Like, once again, we're talking to Khari Thompson, Jackson State beat writer. Now, Khari, Moving forward, we're talking about Jackson State. We're talking about what's taking place with the team. Where are the areas of improvement? Where this team, for a long time, people thought, oh, they were perfect. You know, for us to watch the games, we knew there were flaws, but the flaws got exposed during the Celebration Bowl. What are the areas that you would say of concern or that need to be upgraded by the fall of 2022?
Got to be able to run the football. That's number one to me. They were dead last in the SWAC in terms of
Can't
rushing
have that
game. Only team that had less total rushing yards than Jackson State was Alabama A&M, which played 3 fewer games.
Wow.
So the run game was not good this year.
Yeah,
fix it. They got to fix it. So they need a go-to guy at running back. They need that every down back who's gonna carry the load. It was running back by committee a lot of this year. Got to upgrade the offensive line to help fix that run game and give Shedeur a little bit more time because he was under serious pressure during the playoffs. And I don't think it was all completely his fault. I think he was just under a lot of pressure and just got pressured into making some freshman mistakes.
Yeah.
But he didn't play great in the SWAC championship game or the Celebration Bowl.
No.
So that's what you got to fix. Defense is pretty dang good, man. Especially the D-line and the linebackers, amazing. I think they'll be strong in the secondary again. You got Shiloh coming back. You've got a strong group there. I think you just need to find a way to replace James Houston if that's possible. I mean, you need to maintain that pass rush, but JSU is built for a lot of success coming up.
Well, so one thing I will say, I definitely think that offensive line run game definitely needs some help. Honestly, Khari, I think that secondary needs some help, man. The reason why I say that is because there were games that I saw last year for JSU that quarterbacks, a lot of quarterbacks in the SWAC are run first guys. They're not developed passers. And there were times, especially, I always go back to that SWAC championship game where there were guys open, they just missed them. Now, James Houston had a big part in that. James Houston, Antoine Owen, the guys, Katron Evans, guys on the D-line had a big part of that. I'm not going to take that away from them. But there were breaks in the coverage in the secondary. And anytime that the quarterbacks got a chance to throw it, and they threw it accurately, like Corey Fields, particularly in the second half of the Celebration Bowl, there were times they gave JSU trouble. Did you see some of those as well?
Yeah, sort of. I mean, the thing is, they dominated the SWAC.
Yeah.
I won't say dominated the SWAC because the Southern game was close.
Mississippi Valley was close.
That was my first game. I've seen Alabama A&M, I've seen Bethune, I've seen Texas Southern. Those are all blowouts. The game wasn't particularly close. So from what I've seen, other than the Celebration Bowl, the defense has been pretty good. And you say that the secondary needs some help. I wonder if the number one player next year, especially being coached by
I don't know how it just slipped my brain that they just brought in the best cornerback in the country. That might help just a tad bit. Once again, we're talking to Khari Thompson of the Clarion Ledger. He is the beat reporter for Jackson State. Be sure to hit the thumbs up button, like, share, subscribe. Now, Khari, I do have to ask you this. Now, some people may take offense to this, but hey, we're gonna see what you say about this. I felt like a lot of times during this past season, because now we can reflect on the season in its entirety, that season's over or whatever. A lot of people feel like, and I read some of this in the comments, and I've seen some of this back and forth, is that how do you coach Shedeur? Some folks feel like Coach Prime doesn't coach Shedeur the way that he should. Maybe they feel like he has too much command of the offense. They're checking into too many empty sets and not running the ball enough, or at least attempting to run the ball. When you hear stuff like that, what are your thoughts on that?
They're nitpicking. Shedeur Sanders was the FCS Jerry Rice Award-winning Freshman of the Year. Led a team that went 11-2. Now, that's not to say he's without fault, because he did not play great in either playoff game. But he was a big part of Jackson State's success. And if you went down to Baton Rouge and saw that game against Southern, I mean, he heaved one, at the end of that game deep that really saved that game. Obviously, Shiloh had the interception to close it out. So I think Shador Sanders is going to put up big time numbers. I don't have any issue with the way he's being coached or the offense that's run. I just think he needs more help with the run game to balance things out because you can really key in on him. You know, you can stack more guys, you can drop guys back. You know, if you know Jackson State's not going to be able to run the ball.
Yes.
90 yards a game rushing. It's not going to get it done.
It's not at all. Not at all. You're right about that. Now, Khari, I have to ask you this. At the Celebration Bowl, there was a big debate. Who is the black national champion? Who is the black college, the HBCU national champion? I'm going to list out some resumes. You got the obvious one, South Carolina State, 7-5, 5-0 in your favorite, the MEAC. They dominated Jackson State in the Celebration Bowl. You got FAMU, who come in and like, yo, we blew South Carolina State out 30-7. You know what I'm saying? Head to head, we dominated. We went 9-3. We went to the FCS playoffs. And then you got the boys down at Jackson, 11-1. SWAC East champs, SWAC champions, Celebration Bowl appearance, FCS Coach of the Year, FCS Freshman of the Year, Jackson State. Khari, if you had to vote and you had to choose, if you cast in a ballot, who do you say is the black college national champion?
Well, I'd preface this by saying that we can't forget the D2 or D3 HBCUs either.
That's true. That's true.
You know, just because they ain't D1 doesn't mean they don't necessarily get qualified. And I say that because of, you know, there's kind of a, you know, interesting history behind how we pick black college national champions because the tradition is picked by the media. So, you know, like, you know, again, until 2015, we didn't have, you know,
a Celebration Bowl. Yeah.
Celebration Bowl. We've had other games like it, but, you know, the Celebration Bowl arrived here in 2015. So it's basically brand new.
Yeah.
I would say my vote goes to Jackson State. Here's the thing, and I'm not a homer. I will criticize Jackson State very fairly when I need to. Trust me, I had to grade their Celebration Bowl loss. That wasn't any fun because.
What'd you grade it, by the way? What was that grade?
I gave them a D+ overall. Mostly D's. As special teams, I gave them like a C+, which brought it up to like a D+. Probably could have threw an F.
Yeah, I was about to say, didn't they miss a kick? They missed a kick in the game, right?
Yeah, but I mean, we're not getting on the special teams. They're
okay.
Offense got a D. I think defense got like a C-, and coaching got a D. But coaching potentially could have been enough because that was just a meltdown. You know. So here's why I say Jackson State. I think if you replay that Celebration Bowl, like 8 times out of 10, Jackson State wins.
Ooh, don't let them boys at Orangeburg hear that, but continue.
I just think they were the better team. They just got cocky, confident, and caught up in the hype. And those are all signs that point to coaching because those are coaches' responsibilities to have their team ready. And they just did not seem as locked in as they normally are. I don't know.
Yeah, let's be honest, Khari. They were popping champagne before the game was played. You had their AD Ashley Robinson on the sideline during one of the games. He was like, "We're about to beat them. We're about to go next week and beat Prairie View, and then in 2 weeks after that, we're gonna win the Celebration Bowl." That's on tape. He's on wax. I love it too. Honestly, I love it. But that was the mindset of the team going into the game. But continue.
But you gotta have that mindset if you're coached by Coach Prime. Your team takes on the mentality of its head coach.
Absolutely.
Like he's the leader. He's the head guy.
Absolutely.
So you gotta have a unique swag. So I personally love it. I'm a big fan of it. Did prove costly in that Celebration Bowl. Can't overlook anybody, especially when you've got a dude coaching on their sideline, Buddy Pugh, who's won 8 MEAC titles in 20 years. He basically wins a MEAC title every 3 years. Like, you know. You give that dude 2 weeks to prepare and watch out. You know, it's real. But I just think Jackson State went 8-0 in the SWAC. They beat FAMU, which demolished South Carolina State. You know, the Celebration Bowl, legitimate game. Love it. Had a great experience. I don't know if you can take I don't know if you can all of a sudden say South Carolina State is the best HBCU team because of that one win. What do you think?
Well, here was my thing. I gave the national champion to South Carolina State, and here's why.
Okay.
One, I said, I granted, and this was before I knew some of these things. Somebody on one of my lives told me that when they played FAMU, they had starters out due to like something, either injuries or something. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's just one of my viewers told me. So I took that into consideration. I also took into consideration the fact that they played a tough schedule. They played North Carolina A&T. They played FAMU. They played Clemson. They played a New Mexico State team, which is, a FBS program. So all of those went into, so that goes into those 5 losses. When they played their MEAC schedule, they ran the table. And then when you go to the Celebration Bowl, FAMU wasn't even a thought. You can't not win your division, not win your conference, and then say you're the black national champion. That didn't make sense to me. It made no sense, 0 sense. So they weren't in the conversation. Right. So to me, it was between Jackson State and South Carolina State. I felt like Jackson State's strongest win was FAMU, but it was the first game of the season, and it was only by 1 point. And then their worst loss was to South Carolina State, who ran the MEAC, lost to FAMU from what I was told with starters out, and dominated the Celebration Bowl. It wasn't like it was 21-24. Like, it was a pure domination. And so for that, I said, there's no way I could give this to Jackson State, because when they played them head-to-head, South Carolina State dominated Jackson State and embarrassed them in front of 2.5 million people, in front of 50,000 people, 50,000 on ABC, 50,000 in the building, the second most watched Celebration Bowl ever. 2.5 million sat there and watched Jackson State got their tail whooped, and that is why I gave it to South Carolina State.
Hey, that makes sense. That argument is valid. I will do that. I will just throw in there for the sake of the Jackson State argument. Didn't South Carolina State lose to Alabama A&M? Because that's a really bad loss.
Yeah. But they lost. It was the first game of the season, though. I will say it was the first game of the season.
It's really bad.
Man, Carl, you talking about the spring SWAC champs, man. Don't disrespect the spring SWAC champions like that.
Let me rummage around in my garage and see if I have an extra pink slip.
Once again, guys, we're talking to Khari Thompson of the Clarion Ledger. Be sure to hit the thumbs up button, like, share, subscribe. We're here talking about Jackson State and what's next with the Jackson State program. And so, Khari, I have to tell you, you said the grass is definitely greener moving forward. So for Jackson State, the 2022 season, obviously we still got spring ball, we still got recruits that are going to be signed. I definitely we're going to have you back on sometime like in the future, but I want to ask you just becoming Khari Stradamus, because you're pretty good at this. You're good at predicting stuff. You predicted that Travis Hunter thing, and you were right dead on the money. If we're just predicting, we're looking forward, I guess the next big event for Jackson State will be the February signing day, and you're expecting fireworks, or you're expecting something big on signing day. Just if you're looking ahead, what are something that the Jackson State fans can look forward to, or what's something you give them a little snippet of what maybe you've been hearing. You ain't got to tell them it all, but give them a little snippet of something you've been hearing, or something they could probably expect to see by February, if not by sometime spring ball, sometime around that time. What can they expect?
Yeah, I told you. It's a surprise. It's a surprise. I'm telling you, like, man, I don't have the specifics. I'll be straight up.
Okay.
If I had the specifics, I would divulge what I can divulge. But the reality of it is, your boy's been covering this team for a month, and I absolutely need to be with recruiting. I've been paying attention to Memphis high school football for years. So that being said, I'm looking forward to doing my research and digging in. But the reality is, your boy has been in Jackson since November. Chilling at home with the fam in Massachusetts. So I can't give you any signing day surprises, but I will tell you that I do think there are going to be some big ones. I think that there's a significant chance that they'll top last year, and if they do, that's likely a top 50 recruiting class in the country, which is insane for an FCS school.
Wow. If they're top 50, man, like that's going to be pretty crazy. But I want to get you out on this, Khari. I want to ask you, just without recruiting, without knowing who they're going to sign or anything, just knowing that the guys they're bringing back, especially at key positions, and then who's their coach and who their coach is, their staff, and what we've seen them do already. What are your expectations? This is just super way too early. December 21 expectation of Jackson State for fall of 2022. If you got way too early expectations, what are some of those for this team for next season without even knowing who's even going to be on the roster yet?
Celebration Bowl, win or bust. If you don't win next year, it's a disappointment. It was a disappointment this year. They were favored going in this year. So you're gonna sweep the SWAC and then go backwards, start losing SWAC games. I don't think that can't be the expectation. The expectation should be go undefeated in conference play, make it back, win the SWAC championship again, make it back to Atlanta, and win again. If you got Deion Sanders and the number one recruit in the country, and Shador, who's putting up numbers, and you got Aubrey Miller coming back. You got all this stuff. The expectation should be HBCU national champs, and no debate. It should be no doubt. That's what the expectation should be.
Absolutely, absolutely. Once again, we're talking to Khari Thompson. He's the Jackson State beat writer for the Clarion Ledger. Thank you guys for tuning in. Khari, appreciate you so much, man. We're going to have you back on sometime before the football season. Probably wait till spring ball or something. Get you in here, talk about who ended up joining the team, who left the team, if anybody left, and all that good stuff moving forward. But thank you so much for you all listening. Be sure to hit the thumbs up button on your way out. Khari, appreciate you again, and we will see you guys next